Hello and welcome to the 51st lecture on the history of modern India, the renewed challenges in states. In his first year in office, Rajiv Gandhi had worked to resolve a series of ethnic conflicts in Assam, in Mizoram, in the Punjab. By the end of his second year, his regime was confronted with fresh challenges based on the claims of ethnicity to add to the ongoing challenges based on the religion and class. To begin with, there were conflicts between different groups in the same state. In Bengal, the Nepali-speaking population of the Darjeeling Hills had begun asking for a state of their own. Their leader was a former soldier named Subhash Ghising. Among his cadre, Ghising commanded total and unquestioning support. At a word from him, they could shut down all the schools and shops in the district. His Gorkha National Liberation Front worked within the democratic process and outside it, sometimes petitioning union ministers, at other times engaging in pitched battles with the police. Through the latter half of 1986, the clashes were particularly intense. Eventually, the Prime Minister met Ghising, persuading him to accept an autonomous hill council rather than a state for Nepali speakers. Across the border in Assam, the Bodo tribals were in revolt against the locally dominant Assamese. Their movement, mimicking their adversaries, was led by young men of the All Bodo Students Union. APSU leaders wanted a separate state to be carved out of Assam, in pursuit of which they blockaded roads, burnt bridges, and attacked non-Bodos. When the Assamese radicals retaliated, the clashes became violent, claiming dozens of lives. In Tripura, tribal activists had launched a struggle against the Bengalis who had migrated in the large numbers to the state after partition. By some definitions, the Tripura National Volunteers qualified as terrorists, murdering and kidnapping civilians and ambushing police parties in pursuit of their ends. In 1986, TNV guerrillas killed more than 100 people. In the next year, their tally was even higher. However, in August 1988, the TNV leader Bijoy came out of hiding to sign an accord with the government. His volunteers laid down their arms in exchange for more seats for tribals in the local legislature and the provision of rice and cooking oil at subsidized rates in tribal villages. A second set of conflicts pitted residents of individual states against the union government. In Punjab, the euphoria generated by the Rajiv Gandhi Longowal Accord proved to be a highly temporary phenomenon. The injuries caused by Operation Bluestack and the anti-Sikh riots in Delhi had brought many fresh recruits to the cause. Militants were once more making their home in the Golden Temple. Statements in favor of Khalistan were being made by priests and on occasion by members of the ruling Akali Dal itself. Police adopted a carrot and stick policy, meeting Sikh peasants in an exclusive mass contact program on the one hand, forming vigilant groups to eliminate terrorists on the other hand. Dozens of extremists were killed in these searches, but there was also much harassment of ordinary villagers. The acts of terror continued. In 1986, there were twice as many killings as there had been in 1984, when Bhindranwale was alive. In panic, many Hindus began fleeing across the border to Haryana. To instill fear in Sikhs who lived outside the Punjab, A series of bombs were set off in markets and bus terminals in Delhi and other towns of northern India. These were intended to provoke a fresh round of revenge killings against the Sikhs. Then, the Sikhs who survived might come back to the Punjab, there to form a consolidated, unified, homogeneous community, the better to fight the battle for Khalistan. In a major operation in May 1988, commandos flushed out some 50 terrorists holed up in the Golden Temple complex. Unlike Operation Bluestack, this assault was launched in a daylight so that the adversaries could be pinpointed more clearly. In any case, these militants were not as well prepared or as motivated as Bhindranwale's men. They retreated into the temple's sanctum sanctorum. Denied access to food and water, they surrendered 72 hours later. The revival of terrorism in the Punjab coincided with renewed trouble in another border state, Jammu and Kashmir. Back in 1984, Mrs. Gandhi had Sheikh Abdullah's son Farooq removed from office. Now her son Rajiv restored the ties that once bound the two families and their respective parties, the Congress and the National Conference. In November 1986, they together formed a caretaker government in the state. In 1987, fresh elections were held to the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly. To fight them, Kashmiri politicians seeking autonomy from the center formed an umbrella grouping named the Muslim United Front. MUF workers were harassed by the administration, and the polls themselves were anything but free and fair. Although the National Conference and Congress alliance would probably have won anyway, their margin of victory was made much larger by the rigging of votes in their favor. Even the Intelligence Bureau considered that as many as 13 seats were lost by the MUF owing to the electoral malpractice. The way the 1987 elections were conducted led to deep disenchantment among political activists in Kashmir. Despairing of being treated fairly by New Delhi, they began looking to Pakistan for succor. Groups of young men crossed the border, joining training camps run by Pakistani army. And a year later, they crossed back to put into practice what they had learned. In the spring of 1989, the Kashmiri Valley was witness to a series of shooting, bomb blasts, and grenade attacks. This lovely valley was now home to AK-47, detonators, Molotov cocktails, gelatin fuses, mortars, and masked militants. 97 separate incidents of violence were recorded in the first half of 1989, in which at least 52 people were killed and 250 injured. One reporter grimly commented, "Kashmir appears to have the makings of another Punjab." While Rajiv Gandhi was failing on this front, he was opening a new front of failure in Sri Lanka by sending the Peace Force. In our next video, we will discuss the menacing group in Sri Lanka named LTTE and its conflict with Indian Peacekeeping Force. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share and comment because discussion is solution. For more discussions, please subscribe our channel.